Okay, I don't know who still needs this wake-up call, but if you're picturing some French artisan in white gloves delicately handcrafting your $3,500 purse in a Parisian studio while sipping espresso and humming Edith Piaf, you've been duped. That fantasy? It's dead. Because right now, Chinese manufacturers are allegedly cutting off all Louis Vuitton production after LVMH sued them for exposing the truth. That's right. The same people sewing the bags? Allegedly, they blew the whistle on the entire operation.
You recognize this style, this bag? Of course you do. For the past more than 30 years, we have been the OEM factory for most of the luxury brands around the world. Gucci, Prada, Coach, Louis Vuitton, you name it. But for this, I am not proud because we were only making our wages. The profit margin for the people who are actually making the bags are very...
And instead of fixing anything, Louis Vuitton's parent company turned around and sued them like they were the villains. Are you kidding me? Let me be crystal clear. I think this is what happens when your whole empire is built on illusion. You market luxury, but you manufacture like Zara. You want the world to see champagne, silk, and exclusivity, but behind the curtain, it's sweat, machines, and silent workers with NDA contracts.
Most of them are made in China, and most of them are made in our factory. Yeah, I'm telling you. But why these luxury brands never tell you that? Because they are trying to pretend to be products of some sophisticated European countries like Italy or France.
We are going to be successful. In a few weeks, the shop was open. We sell the most expensive products in a country where everybody was going by bicycle.
A slowdown and a contraction in the global luxury market. About 50 million people either opted out or were forced out of the luxury market over the past 2 years.
I do feel people started to get tired of purchasing products and realized that we just bought too much and it didn't really make us happy.
And now that the silence is broken, the entire house of cards is shaking? Personally, I think they were hoping fear would keep the truth buried. But it backfired, and the people who helped build their empire just set it on fire. So, let's get into the real tea. These Chinese manufacturers, who've been producing Louis Vuitton items for years, allegedly said, enough.
The chip came out. A little over 1 square foot of vaqueta leather came out. 2 different finishes. The best vaqueta leathers in the market is $7, $8. At their level, let's give them $10. And you need 2 square foot. So $20 for the leather, $5 for the materials, inner linings, fabrics, authentication, chip, and $10 for the...
Cost steel less than 60 euros to make a handbag that it sells for nearly 3,000 euros. That's what Italian authorities found out when they raided factories making products for Dior and other fashion brands like...
Okay, let's go.
They didn't just leak whispers. They posted videos, screenshots, factory invoices. They showed pricing breakdowns where LV was allegedly paying less than $100 to make a bag they were selling for $3,000 plus. Let that sink in. They exposed the markups, the margins, the entire fake glam economy, and the worst part? This wasn't some anonymous post on Reddit. This was strategic, it was loud, it was unapologetic.
Birkin bag at Hermes boutique will cost you 38,000 USD. But what is the real cost out of the factory? Today, I'm going to break it down in front of you, step by step. First thing first, Hermes only use the leathers from the 3 top-level suppliers. One is called Muti from Italy. The second is Weinheim from Germany. And the third is Baz from France. One piece of Togo leather, the same leather as this one, will cost 450 USD. And one piece of the leather is only enough to make 1 Birkin, okay? The thread. And of course, for Hermes Birkin, the thread is also the best top level. It's called Fil Al Chinois from France. This is actually the Rolls Royce in thread. For each bag, the cost is 25 USD. And then the hardware. See, this hardware is called 316 hardware. It's also known as the ocean stainless steel because it can withstand the erosion of seawater. It's the best stainless steel. For one piece of bag, the hardware will cost 150 USD. The edge oil, This edge oil is imported from Italy. It's called heat sealed edge oil. For each bag, it will cost 50 USD. The interior lining, it used lambskin imported from France. For each bag, the cost will be 100 USD. And also inside, there is a zipper from Riri brand. And the zipper for one bag is 10 USD.
I think they wanted to show the world that the entire brand is a performance, an overpriced costume. And instead of addressing any of it, LVMH did what corporate giants always do when cornered. They pulled out the lawyers. They said, "You broke our confidentiality rules." But let's be honest, those rules were probably designed to protect lies, not secrets. And now that those lies are out, there's no putting this back in the vault. And this is where it gets absolutely wild. The manufacturers allegedly responded to the lawsuit by completely stopping production. Like, not slowing down, not renegotiating, just done. Zero output, assembly lines shut off, bulk orders canceled. Factories closed their doors and said, "You want war? Fine." And the impact? Instant. Stores couldn't restock. Product launches got delayed. Even the so-called exclusive clients couldn't get their hands on classic pieces, I think. This caught Louis Vuitton completely off guard. They were so used to being untouchable, they forgot how fragile their whole supply chain actually is. When you treat the people making your product like they're invisible, don't be shocked when they ghost you. This wasn't just retaliation, it was a message, a warning. You can't sell what we don't make? And the irony, the brand that was so obsessed with control just lost all of it, overnight. Then came the internet tsunami. The second this hit TikTok, game over. Creators were dissecting bags, stitching patterns, hardware placements, even lining textures, and matching them to items on Alibaba. And not in theory, in real time. Side by side. Videos that proved you could buy a nearly identical bag for $89 while LV was slapping on a $4,000 tag. It was like watching luxury branding disintegrate in 4K. But what really shocked me? The influencers. Even the ones who built their whole aesthetic on unboxing Louis Vuitton were turning on the brand. Some were deleting old posts, others were calling it fake wealth culture. And the hashtag storms? Brutal. Congratulations, you just fake luxury. Not so VUITTON. The narrative flipped overnight. I think once the spell was broken, people couldn't believe they'd fallen for it in the first place. You weren't buying a bag, you were buying a delusion. And now, the delusion is trending. And you know what happens next when a luxury brand's image tanks? The money bleeds. Fast. Word on the street is that LVMH's stock took a hit. Quiet internal memos went out. Retail managers were told to hold off on big promos. I even heard rumors that certain flagship stores started quietly discounting staple pieces just to move inventory. Let that sink in. Louis Vuitton. Discounting? That's like Chanel doing a BOGO sale. It doesn't happen. Unless they're desperate. Resellers are freaking out. The entire secondhand market relies on LV bags holding their value. And now, that so-called investment piece is a risk. People who bought 5 bags as assets are now sitting on thousands of dollars of what feels like branded liabilities. And I think this is just the beginning. If consumer confidence keeps dropping, and I believe it will, we're going to see a domino effect. Collectors will pull back, prices will crash. And Louis Vuitton might go from iconic to ironic real quick. This isn't just a Louis Vuitton problem anymore, it's a luxury industry meltdown waiting to happen. I think every major fashion house is in full damage control mode right now. You think Dior is sleeping easy after this? You think Fendi isn't triple checking every factory contract they've got? And don't even get me started on Balenciaga. After the PR disasters they've already had, they cannot afford another crack in the foundation. But guess what? The cracks are already there. If one group of factory workers can expose Louis Vuitton's entire operation and spark global outrage, I think the rest of these brands are terrified they're next. Because here's the uncomfortable truth no one in fashion wants to admit: they're all doing the same thing. Mass production, fake scarcity, slapping on a logo and pretending it's handcrafted art. And now that illusion is crumbling. One expose at a time. I think we're about to witness the biggest identity crisis the fashion world has ever faced, and designer tape won't fix this. So, what's Louis Vuitton's next genius move? Sue the very people who've been making their products. I mean, really? You sue the hands that literally built your brand and expect sympathy? No. What you get is a PR nuke. Because now, every time LVMH files a lawsuit, more files get leaked. More screenshots, more whistleblower videos, more chaos. It's like they're trying to plug a volcano with a cork. And every time they tighten their grip, the leaks just multiply. I think this is the kind of legal self-sabotage only billion-dollar egos are capable of. They're so used to getting away with everything, they never considered that people might fight back. And if your trade secrets include lying to your customer base, sorry, but I think those secrets deserve to burn. In the light, you can't call it defamation if it's the truth. This right here is the nail in the coffin, because this scandal didn't just expose a business, it shattered a belief. People didn't just buy a Louis Vuitton bag for the leather or the hardware. They bought into the fantasy, the story, the illusion that it meant something, that it represented class, taste, exclusivity. And now, that illusion's dead. I think people feel like suckers. They spent thousands. Some even went into debt because they believed what the brand told them, that it was worth it. And now they're learning their so-called investment was probably assembled for under $100 by underpaid workers in a factory no one was supposed to know about. That's not luxury, that's manipulation. And when a brand makes its customers feel stupid, that trust is never coming back. Not ever. Honestly, I don't see how they bounce back. Not unless they pull off a complete reinvention. And let's be real, I don't think they have the guts for that, because true transparency would mean admitting how deep the deception went. And luxury brands don't apologize. They deflect, they rebrand, they gaslight. That's the whole business model. Could Louis Vuitton recover? Technically, sure. They've got money, influence, loyalists. But will they ever be seen the same again? I don't think so, because even if they patch this up on the surface, the seed of doubt has been planted. Every customer walking into a store now is wondering, was this bag made in some factory with a broken air conditioner and silenced workers? That's not luxury. That's a scandal waiting to be memorialized in a Netflix docuseries. Let's call it what it is. The end of the illusion. For decades, luxury brands convinced us that price equals value, that exclusivity equals worth, that if you pay more, you get more. But now, we're learning that what you're really paying for is marketing. Hype, a fantasy designed in a boardroom, and sold with fake scarcity and celebrity endorsements. I think people are waking up in waves. You don't need to spend $5,000 for a bag that costs $75 to make. You don't need to worship brands that look down on you while profiting off your loyalty. And you definitely don't need to wear a logo just to feel like you belong somewhere. That's over. The veil is lifting. And for once, I think the public might be ready to burn the whole illusion down and start fresh. And that silence, it's louder than any apology. I think they know they pushed a lie. Maybe they didn't realize it at the time, but now that the truth is out, they can't defend it. Because they'd be defending exploitation. They'd be defending greed. And they know their audience isn't buying the BS anymore. The silence isn't strategy, it's surrender. And honestly, that's the real tea. When even the influencers walk away, you know the brand is toast. So, here's my final take. I think this isn't just a scandal, it's a collapse. We're watching the fall of a giant that built itself on lies and stitched them together with secrecy. And now, the thread's been pulled. It's unraveling fast. What comes next might be the most honest chapter luxury fashion has ever seen, but only if we keep demanding answers. Because if this is how Louis Vuitton ends, maybe it's also how real change begins.